The bright lights of America's Got Talent stage cut through the darkened theater as the host's voice echoes, "Please welcome our next contestant." From the wings, a small figure emerges, an ordinary-looking boy, no more than 12 or 13 years old, dressed simply in clothes that are slightly oversized, as though borrowed or gifted. His shoes appear worn, yet polished carefully, as if he or his family wanted to make sure he looked his best for this once-in-a-lifetime chance. As he walks forward, the stage seems impossibly large. The boy clutches the microphone tightly with both hands, his knuckles pale from the pressure. Each step feels heavier than the last, as though he is carrying not only his dream but also the weight of his family's hopes and struggles. The audience notices his hesitance immediately. Some lean forward with curiosity, while others whisper quietly, wondering if this fragile-looking child has what it takes to impress the notoriously tough judges. He finally reaches the marked spot at the center of the stage. The judges' table is directly in front of him, glowing beneath the overhead lights. Simon Cowell, Heidi Klum, Sofia Vergara, and Howie Mandel sit with pens and papers, ready to evaluate. Simon leans back in his chair, eyes sharp, already scanning the boy with an expression that mixes skepticism and mild curiosity. The host calls out, "Hello there. What's your name?" The boy clears his throat, his voice barely audible at first. My name is Arvin," he says softly, his Filipino accent noticeable, adding to the authenticity of his story. The crowd responds with a gentle round of applause, encouraging him to continue. "And how old are you, Arvin?" Sofia asks warmly. "I'm 13 years old," he replies, his voice steadier this time. "And where are you from?" Heidi follows. "I came from the Philippines," he answers, and the audience claps again. The boy bows his head slightly, a shy smile flickering across his face, as though he isn't used to receiving such recognition. Simon, still reserved, finally speaks. "Why are you here today?" His tone is calm but serious, the kind that can shake even the most confident performers. Arvin takes a deep breath, gripping the microphone closer to his chest. "I am here because I want to share my gift. I want to show the world that even if you come from a small place, you can still have big dreams." He pauses, his eyes glistening as he glances briefly at the massive crowd before quickly lowering his gaze again. "And, I want to make my family proud. They have sacrificed a lot for me, and I hope I don't disappoint them." A murmur runs through the audience. Some people nod with sympathy, while others whisper things like, "Oh, how sweet," and, "I hope he does well." It is clear that many in the crowd are already rooting for him. Simon narrows his eyes, intrigued but not yet convinced. "So you think you're ready for this? Because this is the world's biggest stage." His words hang heavy in the air. Arvin swallows hard, visibly nervous. His hands tremble slightly, but his voice, though small, carries surprising conviction. "Yes, sir. I believe this is my moment." The boy's honesty draws a soft awe from sections of the audience. Even Heidi smiles warmly and whispers something to Sofia, perhaps remarking on his bravery. Howie gives him a nod of encouragement, mouthing the words, "You got this." Despite the support, the weight of the silence that follows is almost unbearable. The boy stands under the spotlight, blinking against its brightness, feeling the heat on his skin. The enormity of the moment presses down on him. Every doubt he's ever had threatens to surface. Memories of nights practicing in his small home, of neighbors doubting whether a boy like him could ever succeed, of his family scraping together money just so he could travel to America. The theater grows quiet. The thousands of people in the audience wait with bated breath. The judges lean slightly forward, hands ready on their buzzers, prepared to make their decision. For a moment, Arvin feels as though time itself has frozen. He inhales deeply, straightening his posture. His eyes, which had been cast downward, now rise to meet the blinding lights above him. In that instant, his nervous expression shifts slightly into determination. Though his knees still tremble, though his heart pounds furiously against his chest, there is something unshakable inside him, a quiet fire that refuses to die out. The stage crew signals that he may begin whenever he's ready. He nods, barely perceptible, and adjusts the microphone in his hand. The audience remains completely silent, the kind of silence that feels louder than any noise. Simon raises his eyebrows slightly, exchanging a look with Heidi, as if silently asking, "Is this going to be worth it?" His body language suggests doubt. he has seen countless nervous contestants crumble at this very moment. But something in the boy's eyes, fragile yet burning with courage, keeps him from dismissing him too quickly. Arvind closes his eyes for a moment. He whispers something under his breath, perhaps a prayer, perhaps a message to his parents back home. Then he exhales, lowers his shoulders, and prepares to reveal the gift that has carried him from his small Filipino hometown all the way to the world's biggest talent stage. The spotlight tightens on him. The audience leans forward. The judges' hands hover, uncertain if they'll need to press their buzzers. The boy grips the microphone with newfound steadiness. And then, just before he begins, the room is so silent you could hear a pin drop. Everyone waits, unsure if this fragile-looking child will stumble under the crushing pressure, or rise to astonish the world. The silence in the theater is almost unbearable. Thousands of eyes remain locked on the boy standing alone under the glaring spotlight, microphone clutched tightly in his hands. He takes one final deep breath, his chest rising and falling visibly, and then he begins. At first, the sound that escapes him is soft, almost fragile. A single note trembles in the air like a flickering flame, and for a split second, the audience fears that his nerves will overpower him. A murmur spreads across the room, people shifting in their seats, uncertain of what's to come. Simon tilts his head slightly, one eyebrow raised, his finger hovering just above the buzzer. But then, something extraordinary happens. The boy steadies himself, finding courage within the very fear that threatened to undo him. His voice rises, strong and clear, carrying with it a depth of emotion far beyond his years. The fragile tone transforms into a powerful resonance that fills the entire theater, reaching even the highest balconies. Gasps erupt from the audience, their doubt instantly replaced with awe. Simon leans forward in his chair, his eyes widening. The skepticism on his face begins to melt away, replaced by genuine surprise. It is rare for Simon to be caught off guard, but this young boy has managed to pierce through his wall of doubt in a matter of seconds. The music swells, and with it, the boy's performance grows stronger. His voice, once uncertain, now soars effortlessly, hitting notes that echo with passion, pain, and raw honesty. Every word he sings or every move he makes, depending on the talent, feels like a story, his story, etched into sound. The theater, once buzzing with whispers, is now entranced in perfect silence, broken only by his remarkable gift. The cameras sweep across the audience. Parents clutch their children's hands, tears forming in their eyes. Strangers exchange glances of disbelief, whispering phrases like, "Is this really happening?" And, "He's amazing." A few people already rise to their feet, unable to stay seated as the energy of his performance pulls them in. Heidi presses a hand against her chest, visibly touched. Sofia shakes her head in amazement, mouthing the word, "Wow." Howie leans toward the other judges, his jaw slightly open, unable to hide his astonishment. And Simon cannot look away. His hand, once so close to pressing the buzzer, now rests on the table as he studies every detail of this boy's performance, his usual cold demeanor softened by genuine admiration. The boy's confidence grows with each passing second. Gone is the trembling child who walked nervously onto the stage. Now, in his place, stands a performer in full command of his gift. He lifts his chin, his body swaying slightly with the rhythm, his eyes closed as he pours every ounce of his heart into the performance. Then comes the climax. The music builds to its peak, and the boy takes a deep breath before unleashing a note so powerful, so emotionally charged, that it seems to shake the very walls of the theater. The sound reverberates like a tidal wave, washing over the audience, overwhelming them with its intensity. Some fans scream with excitement, others cry openly, their emotions too strong to contain. Simon's lips part slightly, his usual stern expression now replaced with something rare, wonder. He has seen thousands of performers over the years, yet in this moment, he knows he is witnessing something extraordinary. The boy holds the note longer than anyone expected, his voice unwavering, filling the room with a force that seems impossible for someone his age. When he finally releases it, the theater is plunged into a silence so thick that it feels like time itself has stopped. And then, chaos. The audience explodes into applause, cheers, and whistles, the sound so deafening it nearly drowns out the final notes of the music. Entire sections of the theater leap to their feet, clapping furiously, screaming his name. People stomp their feet, wave their arms, and chant in unison. It is no longer just an audition, it has become an event, a moment that no one in the room will ever forget. The boy, breathing heavily, lowers the microphone. His chest rises and falls as he looks around the sea of cheering faces, tears beginning to blur his vision. For a moment, he is stunned, as if he cannot believe that this outpouring of love and admiration is truly for him. The camera catches his expression, wide-eyed wonder mixed with overwhelming gratitude. He presses his hand against his heart, bowing slightly as the audience continues to roar. Confetti has not yet fallen, but the energy in the room already feels like a celebration. Simon claps once, slowly at first, before joining the others in a full standing ovation. His applause, though simple, carries enormous weight. The other judges are on their feet too, clapping and cheering with genuine delight. The boy looks toward the judges' table, his lips trembling as though he wants to say something but cannot find the words. Instead, he stands silently, letting the noise of the crowd wash over him. He wipes at his eyes, his tears glistening under the stage lights. In the audience, strangers embrace each other, some still wiping their cheeks. The energy feels unified, as though every person in that massive theater has shared in the same life-changing moment. For Simon Cowell, the hardest man to impress, the performance has broken through every wall of skepticism. His expression is no longer guarded, it is one of admiration, of respect, perhaps even of pride. He leans slightly forward, preparing to say words that could change this boy's life forever. But before Simon speaks, one thing is already clear: the Filipino boy has done the impossible. He entered as a nervous, trembling child, and in just a few minutes, he transformed into a star who shook the theater to its core. The final note fades into the air like a wave pulling back from the shore, leaving behind a silence so heavy it presses against the walls of the theater. For a heartbeat, no one moves. The boy stands frozen on stage, chest heaving, microphone trembling in his hand, his wide eyes scanning the sea of faces staring back at him. For a terrifying moment, he wonders, did he do enough? And then, as if ignited by invisible fire, the theater erupts. The audience leaps to their feet in unison, the sound of thousands of hands clapping thundering through the room. Cheers echo, whistles pierce the air, and chants of his name rise from the crowd. People stomp their feet against the floor, creating a rhythm of celebration that vibrates beneath the stage. The boy stares, stunned, as golden lights sweep across the cheering fans. His lips tremble, his eyes water. He has never heard applause like this before, applause meant for him. The camera captures every emotion etched across his young face: disbelief, joy, relief, and an overwhelming gratitude. He bows deeply, pressing one hand against his chest. Tears spill freely now, rolling down his cheeks, but he doesn't wipe them away. These tears belong to the moment, to the reality that he has just lived his dream. The judges rise from their seats, one by one. Heidi is smiling brightly, her hands clapping fast as she beams with admiration. Sofia shakes her head in disbelief, as though she cannot comprehend that so much power came from someone so small. Howie grins wide, pointing at the boy as if to tell the world, remember this name, he's going to be huge. But Simon remains seated. The crowd notices. The camera is panned to him. For once, his sharp expression is gone, replaced by a look of deep thought, as if he is processing the magnitude of what just happened. The boy, catching sight of Simon's silence, feels his heart squeeze with fear. Did Simon not like it? Did he see something wrong? The uncertainty weighs on him heavier than the spotlight above. Finally, Simon rises. Slowly, deliberately. The theater quiets just a little, eager to hear his verdict. He doesn't speak right away, letting the suspense hang in the air. His eyes stay locked on the boy, piercing yet strangely gentle. Arvin, Simon begins, his voice steady but softer than usual. When you first walked onto this stage, I'll be honest, I wasn't sure. You looked so nervous, and I thought maybe this moment was too big for you. He pauses, his words hanging in the air, heavy with tension. The boy swallows hard, his fingers gripping the microphone tighter. But then, Simon continues, his expression softening into something almost fatherly. You opened your mouth, and what came out was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The audience roars again, clapping and cheering. The boy's knees weaken, his chest tightening as tears spill faster. To hear Simon Cowell, a man known worldwide for his harsh criticism, say that word feels like the highest honor. Simon isn't finished. He steps closer to the microphone in front of him. You didn't just sing. You told us your story with every single note. You showed us heart. And that, young man, is what makes a superstar. The boy covers his mouth with both hands, his body trembling from head to toe. The audience shouts louder, some fans waving their arms, others wiping tears from their eyes. Heidi and Sofia nod in agreement, both visibly moved, while Howie claps harder than ever. Then, in a moment that will be replayed across the world, Simon glances down at the gleaming button in front of him, the golden buzzer. The audience sees the shift in his eyes and instantly senses what's about to happen. The theater explodes in anticipation. People scream, pointing at the buzzer, shouting, "Do it, Simon! Do it!" The boy stares, hands pressed against his face, tears streaming as he shakes his head in disbelief. His knees nearly buckle under the weight of the possibility. Simon smiles faintly, a rare, genuine smile. "You came here wanting to make your family proud," he says softly. "I think you just made an entire country proud. And for me, this is an easy decision." He slams his palm down on the golden buzzer. The sound reverberates like thunder. Instantly, golden confetti bursts from above, raining down in sparkling waves across the stage. The audience screams at the top of their lungs, their cheers echoing like a tidal wave. The boy collapses to his knees, overwhelmed, his small frame shaking as confetti sticks to his hair and clothes. The judges stand, clapping and cheering. Heidi and Sofia wave their arms in the air like excited children, while Howie claps furiously, pointing at the boy and shouting something inaudible over the roar of the crowd. Simon, still seated, simply watches with a proud, almost paternal expression. The boy weeps openly now, overwhelmed by the moment. He presses his hands together as though in prayer, mouthing the words, thank you, toward the judges, toward the audience, perhaps even toward the heavens. The camera zooms in on his tear-streaked face as golden confetti rains endlessly, framing him like a hero bathed in light. The audience chants his name louder and louder, the sound filling the theater until it feels like the walls themselves are shaking. It is no longer just an audition. It has become a victory, a coronation, a moment etched into the history of America's Got Talent. Simon finally leans forward, pressing the microphone again. His words cut through the noise, remember this night. Because it's the night the world met Arvin. The crowd explodes once more, and the boy raises his arms to the sky, crying and laughing at the same time. For that moment, he is no longer just a boy from the Philippines, he is a global star, and his life has changed forever.